Hi, welcome. My name's Louise, this is Quick Histories, and we're back, baby! These are the videos where I've rummaged around in the past to find the weirdest, most wonderful facts, which I have then packaged up and I lovingly give to you in the hopes that you don't call me a nerd. Although, I mean, I am. And it's only blooming Christmas, isn't it? So let's get things a bit more festive, shall we? Huh? Sabrina the Teenage Witch, anyone? No? Okay. I've got a great history fact for you today, which answers the age-old question of what's the deal with Santa Claus and where does he come from? Or, as I'm calling it, Santa Claus Origins, the St. Nicholas story. Also, if you like this fact, remember to give it a like, click the subscribe and or follow buttons, and you could even give me a tip over on my Ko-fi page if you're feeling extra festive. The link for that will be in the description, or if you're watching this on Instagram, the link's in my bio. Quick disclaimer, this video may not be suitable for children. That's not because I'll randomly start swearing at some point, but you know, who knows. No, it's more because I share some, let's say, controversial theories about Santa Claus and his existence. So you have been warned. Otherwise, let's find out where Santa's from, shall we? The history of Santa Claus spans a whopping 1,700 years, so it's a pretty darn complicated history. However, we're starting our story in the 3rd century in what is now Turkey to meet a chap called Saint Nicholas. Saint Nicholas was a Greek bishop who became a patron saint of children and sailors randomly. He was known for his generosity and also occasionally resurrecting the dead, but that's a whole other story. The most famous story about St. Nicholas is one that tells of a poor family. They were so poor that the father was having to face the concept of selling his daughters into slavery because he just could not afford to look after them anymore. So St. Nick, upon hearing this, dropped 3 bags of coins at the family's house. 1 bag of coins for each daughter to use as a dowry so that she could marry and therefore not be sold into slavery. The most important takeaway from this story, I think, is the fact that maybe that's why we eat chocolate coins at Christmas. In which case, great story, thank you St. Nick. Now, St. Nicholas was a hugely popular saint, so much so that hundreds of years later in medieval Europe, people still widely celebrated his feast day on the 6th of December every year. And as the patron saint of children, his feast day, the celebrations on his feast day were very family friendly and often involved giving gifts to children. And while the Protestant Reformation in the 16th century, really damaged a lot of saints' popularity, St. Nicholas managed to still remain a favourite, especially in the Netherlands. It was here that he was known by his Dutch name, unsurprisingly, his Dutch name of Santa Claus, which I'm probably completely butchering, I apologise to just everyone who heard me say that, which over the centuries became anglicised to Santa Claus. Santa Claus, Santa Claus, Santa Claus, Santa Claus. In fact, the Dutch loved him so much that when a lot of them emigrated to the New World, aka America, they took old Santa Claus with them. Now we're jumping forward to 18th century New York City, to what I'm calling Santa Claus 2, Lost in New York. As early as the 1770s, there were reports of Dutch families gathering in New York City to celebrate the feast day of St. Nicholas in early December. And it's from this point, from the sort of late 18th century, that we start to see the transformation of St. Nicholas from the bishop, St. Nicholas, to our sort of modern day Santa Claus. And the people we have to thank for this transformation are the American writers, illustrators, and poets. Little by little, these artists and writers changed St. Nicholas from a generous bishop, that's hard to say, to a generous old man in a funny red hat. There are so many examples of influential literature that I could tell you about, but the most famous, one of the most popular pieces came in 1822 by a writer, Clement Clarke Moore, who wrote a poem called "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." You'll definitely know this poem. It's the one that starts like this. "'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse." Fortunately for you, I am not going to recite the whole poem now, but later on in the poem, Clement Moore goes on to describe St. Nicholas as having a round belly, twinkling eyes, rosy cheeks, and a beard as white as snow. He also talks about him coming down a chimney with a bundle of toys on his back, so very much painting the picture of the Santa Claus that we know now. But at the time, this was a big change from the Greek bishop that they had been celebrating just about 50, 60 years before. Now, I have a big myth-busting fact for you. Myth-busting fact. If anyone tells you that Coco Cola are the reason that Santa has his fabulous red outfit, you can tell them that is a lot of festive nonsense. And that's because about half a century before Coke started featuring a jolly Santa in his red outfit in their Christmas adverts, there were the illustrations by Thomas Nast. Nast was an American cartoonist who produced several illustrations of Santa Claus in his time. But his most famous illustration came in the 1880s, which shows, yep, that's Santa. A cheerful chap dressed in red with a big white beard and a sack of toys. That's Santa Claus. Although he does also seem to be wearing long johns. But otherwise, Santa. Anyway, at the same time that the USA were giving St. Nicholas an epic makeover, here in the UK, the Victorians were making their own changes to Christmas. It's worth knowing that in the centuries before the Victorian era, Christmas in the UK had a bit of a rowdy reputation. It was essentially a good excuse for adults to have a bit of a knees up. And while Father Christmas as a concept did exist, he was either more of a sort of rambunctious elf creature or just an old man that kind of represented the season more generally. Yeah, it's a bit weird. But along come the Victorians, and they want to sort of get rid of Christmas's Burning Man vibes and make it more of a sort of wholesome family fun event. I mean, of course they did. Bloody Victoria and Albert had about 50 kids. So yeah, the Victorians were all about family-friendly things. And to do this, they needed a more suitable, child-friendly Father Christmas. Fortunately, over in the US, one such man existed. Old Santa Claus. So the Victorians essentially adopted Santa Claus from the US, but then just kept the name Father Christmas. So there we go. What's Santa's origin story? He was a 3rd century bishop who had a New York City makeover. Right, remember to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on Instagram if you want. If you want to give me a tip on my Ko-fi page, that'd be much appreciated. That will go towards many mince pies this festive season. Otherwise, I'm off to eat a lot of chocolate coins and call it historical research. History facts.